Farm Talk on CFRU 93.3 FM. Welcome to another edition of Food Farm Talk, where we celebrate food and honor those who champion the cause of food in society. Hello, welcome to another episode of Food Farm Talk on CFRU 93.3 FM. This week we are talking about the Arrell Food Summit. Last week, myself and Emily had an opportunity to attend the Arrell Food Summit at the Globe and Mail Center in Toronto.
It was a wonderful event. We spent the day with all kinds of different researchers, people from industry, students, community workers who were all thinking about how to make our food system more sustainable.
Like Emily said, it was a wonderful experience, and we had the opportunity to talk to some of the most important guests in the room about their perspectives and their reflections on the discussions that happened on the day.
So hi, my name is Evan Fraser, and I'm the director of the Arrell Food Institute at the University of Guelph. This summit has been a fantastic opportunity to bring stakeholders of all stripes of a huge diversity together in order to discuss the pressing challenge of how to safely, sustainably, nutritiously and profitably feed the world's growing population.
So the last 12 hours has been, I would say, time of engaging discussions about agri-food system, how to move Canada's place within the global agri-food system. What is the most interesting thing that you see that has come out of this conversation?
I always come out of conversations like this one, and today was no exception, with a sense of profound optimism that Canada is poised to take great opportunity and take advantage of this extremely rapidly changing sector of the economy. We can deploy technology, bring social insights and governance together to create a more equitable system, and I truly do believe that this is Canada's moment to create a global brand of being an international leader in the production of safe and sustainable food.
So this is Canada's moment, as you said. What do you see as the next steps going forward?
So while I'm overwhelmingly optimistic about our role as being an agri-food powerhouse for the future, I also think there's some very profound challenges that we have to address that represent the key next steps. First of all, we have to acknowledge the fact that agriculture, for all the good it does, is also a major contributor to environmental problems. So we need to be working with the utmost importance on the sustainability agenda for farming. Equally, we have to be mindful of the fact that far too many Canadians are food insecure. Approximately 1/10 of our population is food insecure, and this disproportionately affects the economically marginalized, the poor, and the First Nations communities. So we need to, at the same time as be working at an environmental level on making farming less environmentally damaging, we have to be working on a social equity agenda to make sure that all Canadians have access to the food they need.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Evan Fraser. We appreciate that, and we hope that this will be a springboard for further action to transform Canada's position in the global agri-food system.
Hi, I'm Leon Cochin. I'm a professor of plant sciences at the University of Saskatchewan and associate director of the Global Institute for Food Security.
Thank you, Leon Cochin, for speaking to Food Farm Talk. And first of all, let me congratulate you for winning a Global Innovation Award at the Food Institute. That was really great. Can you tell us a little bit, in a minute, tell us about your work?
Okay, so I study many ways to say it, but one way is that I study crop adaptation to marginal soils, which is the types of soils we're going to be expanding onto in the future throughout the world to feed the world. So I study the genes and the mechanism, fairly fundamental research on how crops can do more with less, maintain or increase yields with less water, less fertilizer inputs, how to deal with stressful environments like toxic metals or extreme pHs. And so, it's a very technology integrated into biology approach, taking advantage of the physical science advances and the biological science advances too. I guess what we're trying to do is identify the genes that underlie important root traits that will confer these improvements and get breeders for the first time to do molecular breeding for crops with better roots. because they breathe for what they can see.
That sounds really great. Now, tell me what this award means to you and your research.
Right. Well, obviously, to begin with, I'm humbled and I'm honored. That's a great honor. But I think more important, for me, to me, it's recognition of my team because, I've had both at Cornell and now at the University of Saskatchewan a large group of outstanding young scientists from around the world. And this is really honors them because they really are the ones that do the hard work. And also I think it's important because, we've got this fledgling institute and it brings recognition to the Global Institute for Food Security and the University of Saskatchewan. It's an up-and-coming agricultural university. We have the University of Guelph to aspire to. Don't send that one back. But I think finally, what's most important is with the Arrell family's investment in food security and this institute. You're really shining a light on global food insecurity. Most Canadians and Americans don't think about this, the middle class and above, because they spend a small fraction of their disposable income on food. They don't realize even in their own countries we have food insecurity, but worldwide it's a serious problem. So this is, I think, most important, making the world more aware that we have to grow more. It's critical to grow more food. Otherwise, we're going to be in big trouble as a world community.
Yeah, we've had a lot of conversations since like 10 a.m. this morning. It's been almost 12 hours of intense conversation, discussing food from the very community level, from the farmer level, to more global issues of food. What has been the most interesting thing in terms of the conversations we've had, and what are you taking out of today's summit?
Well, I think, what I sort of already knew, but really brought home is the complexity of dealing with food insecurity. It's complicated enough just from the biology or science point of view, agriculture point of view, but it's all areas. You have sociology, you have psychology, you have food choices, you have economics, you have infrastructure. It's incredibly complex. I was looking at the interview after mine with in South Africa of setting up a really efficient way, kind of using AI and digital approaches, blockchain approaches, to get that extra food out to the people that need it. And that's something that's embarrassing in the U.S. and Canada, that we waste so much food. So just realizing how complex this problem is, and we really need to continue to grow the team in terms of all that. It's as multidisciplinary of a problem as you'll ever see.
Thank you very much for talking to us, and congratulations again on your award.
Thank you very much.
I'm here with Maria Corradini, who's one of the chairs of the Arrell Food Summit today. She's been on stage a lot. And Maria, I'm curious to know, what has been the best thing about the Arrell Food Summit for you today?
Oh, there were so many things, but one of the things that I cherish the most was the interview that I had with one of our award winners, Leon Kochian, and how he basically put forward that we need to be comfortable with being uncomfortable if we want to move forward and to foster innovation and collaboration.
Yeah, that was such a great interview. What was really the kind of, he's one of the Innovation Award winners, and what did you take away from his talk about, he's a plant scientist at the University of Saskatchewan. What was kind of, you think, the most important thing about his work that's being awarded with this award?
Well, I think that besides, his contributions in order to elucidate how we can make certain plants work in hostile territories, I think that it's very important the way that he is integrating the different lines of research in order to make that his findings more applicable, and how that actually can improve our yields throughout the planet. We will need them, and we will need to make certain parts of the world hotspots for food production, because we know that we have places where we are severely food insecure. So I think that his work is extremely important for that.
Hi, I'm Laura Arrell, the Managing Director of the Arrell Family Foundation.
Yeah, so thank you very much for speaking to Food Farm Talk. I know the Arrell Family Foundation has been very instrumental in pushing forward the Arrell Food Institute. What does this summit mean for the foundation?
This summit, I think, is a culmination of all we're trying to achieve, being, improving human life through food. And it really, I hope, will serve to bring attention to, really all that we're trying to do with the university, bring media attention to how we can work together to collaborate and reduce food waste, to transform global food systems, to improve sustainability, and really, as Evan Fraser was saying earlier today, elevate Canada's position in the area of food.
Thank you very much. And I do know that throughout the year, the Institute do a lot of work. And as you mentioned, this is a combination of what you have been trying to do in terms of the support you provide. What's the most interesting thing that you have taken out of today's summit?
I think just the diverse audience that's here and the shared interest in elevating Canada's role in feeding a growing population and doing it in a more sustainable manner, whether you be coming from a background of big business, from a charitable organization, from the government. I've been really inspired by how people have a genuine interest in working together to push this agenda forward.
Yeah, so that being said, my last question would be, what do you see as the next steps going forward?
Continuing these conversations and not just, writing this down on paper and filing it away, actually really trying to follow up on those connections that are made today so that we can affect some real change.
Okay, thank you very much. We appreciate it. Thank you for talking to Food Farm Talk.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Senator Rob Black.
Okay, so what have you taken out of the 12 hours of engaging discussions about our agri-food system today?
For me, I think the speakers were great, and each of them posed a different question and perspective. And I'm going away with a lot more questions than answers, but I also feel positive about Canadian agriculture. I think we have a way forward. We've heard about some of those ways today. The last session on youth and leadership and the ag industry, I think was a great way to end the session.
So you are the realm of policy and legislation in the country. What does this mean for Canada going forward?
I think the Senate has a role to play in raising the issue further at the federal level in the Senate, and hopefully leveraging some of the work that's been done elsewhere here at the Arrell Food Institute and elsewhere to move the yardstick forward.
Okay. Thank you very much, Senator Black. We appreciate that.
Take care.
My name's Malcolm Campbell. I'm Vice President Research at University of Guelph.
Dr. Malcolm Campbell, you have been in this position, you have been engaged with so many of these programs for the last couple of years. What has been your general, first impression about today's program?
Well, today's program was absolutely amazing. The way it brought together people from across the agri-food sector, people from various components of the system, if you will. We had researchers on the one hand, we had retailers on the other, and in the middle we had a whole spectrum of people that ranged from producers in the food sector, processors in the food sector, and people that are really taking a look at regulatory, being thought leaders in the policy space. Really quite an amazing array of individuals bringing to the table excellent discourse that I think is really going to propel the food system here in Canada forward in ways that we can't even imagine.
So what does this conversation actually mean for Canada's place in the food system, which was one of the key themes of the discussion?
Well, it's a great question because there's a phenomenal potential here in Canada for us to be truly global leaders in the production of safe, healthy, and affordable foods. And I think the sort of discourse that we had today around how to create an environment that allows us to be that global leader is really the thing that's going to make a difference. So thinking about how we need to change regulatory, how it is that we need to take advantage of the incredible amounts of data that we're collecting and convert that then into ways to better manage food systems. The way that we train the next generation of thought leaders in this space, how we really help people populate an industry that has such a potential to be an economic differentiator for Canada and frankly a food differentiator for the world at large.
Yeah, and of course the University of Guelph has been very central in pushing forward some of these agendas you have mentioned. What do you see as the university's role in terms of research and in terms of community engagement going forward, taking inspiration from the discussions that we've had today?
Well, because we have such great thinkers at University of Guelph, I think amongst the key roles that we're going to play is a catalyst for discourse, that we've got people that bring others together. On a per faculty member basis, we are the most partnered university in Canada. Just bringing that power to the table, bringing our partners to the table, our ability to convene, I think that's going to be a real difference maker. But in addition to that, we're also one of the most innovative universities in Canada. On a per faculty member basis, we are the most innovative university in Canada. The discoveries that we make and the way that we change those into impactful innovations that make a difference within agri-food systems, that's also going to be a game changer. And then finally, we're also an incredible platform for training people that are going to populate the industry. They're going to be the game changers. So 3 things then. We're going to make a difference as conveners, we're going to make a difference as innovators, and we're going to make a difference as creating the next generation of thought leaders.
So we've heard from some of the important guests that were in the room, and as you have heard, the reflections cut across different areas, and the representation also came from people from research and people from the industry and policy and all different kind of backgrounds. But we also had the opportunity to talk to students.
Yeah, students were in attendance as well, and they had some interesting perspectives about what they learned at a day at the Arrell Food Summit. So without further ado, here are some of the student perspectives.
So my name is Emily Khalil, and I'm a PhD student in the Department of History, and I am also an Arrell Scholar.
So I know this is your first time being at the Arrell Food Summit. What has been the most interesting thing that you are taking out of this summit?
I think the most interesting thing I'm taking out of the summit is that as much as we talk about food and tech and data, it's really about the people. And so we need that collaborative process across disciplines, but also within our own groupings. And so just seeing the benefits that come out of really talking with one another has been really cool today.
Thank you very much for talking to us.
Thanks.
I'm Andrew Nixon. I'm an Arrell Scholar and PhD in Management at the School of Hospitality, Food, and Tourism Management, the Lang School of Business Economics. I'm also the co-founder of Zerocery, which is an online zero-waste grocery retail and delivery service.
What has been the most interesting thing that you are taking out of the summit?
It was actually during the panel on institutional food, the planetary health, and the public plate, where one of the speakers was mentioning describing how food has so many pathways to be a tool for improving the systems that we're working on so many different fronts at the Arrell Food Summit. We opened with a keynote talk about really trade-specific issues, and then we closed with topics on jobs and skills. So being able to look at food as a way to not only address some societal issues, the economic issues that we have, as well as the challenges that we're facing in terms of the climate. It's really been one of those days that I think that's captured all of the ways that the Arrell Food Institute tries to elevate food and have it be part of those different conversations. I'm really proud of the program for being able to make that a reality today.
So taking my next and last question from that, what do you see as a way forward from these conversations?
I always appreciate the opportunity to bring people together for conversations, but to discuss actionable strategies. The one thing I would like to see us do, just a small task, one of our polls was talking about the biggest opportunity that we have in the food system right now, and we had pretty much all of our participants write in their response. And so I would like to take that data and see what that results actually showed in terms of the categories that overlapped, and be able to send that back out to the attendees and build potentially some working groups or something around that to be able to have this conversation continue outside of our annual summit and into more ongoing relationships.
Thank you very much for talking to us.
Thank you, Abdul.
Hi, my name is Rijali. I'm a master's student in the Plant Ag department. And
so tell me why you are here at the Arrell Food Summit.
So a I learned about the Arrell Food Institute about 2.5 years ago, and I attended the summit last year, and I really like it. So I'm here for the second summit this year.
We've had so many hours of intense conversations since morning. What has been the most interesting thing that you are taking out of today's summit?
There's quite a few things about the summit. First is I really like this summit that I can, as an opportunity to meet with different people other than the one in my department. And I like the vice president from RBC's his speech, because it's really talk about the next generation and what's the future direction of the Canadian agricultural role. And I think that can really benefit my career choice after I graduate. And it's going to inspire me about a lot of the agriculture in the future.
Thank you very much for talking to us.
So, hello, my name is Sabrina Rondo, and I am a PhD student in environmental science and an Arrell Food Scholar at the University of Guelph.
So today you are at the Arrell Food Summit with intense conversations from morning to evening. What has been the most interesting thing that you are taking out of this summit?
I would say that the most interesting conversation that we had today is also something that we need to be constantly being remembered about, and this is the importance of interdisciplinarity and collaboration towards the agri-food system. So, for example, I have a background in environmental science, and my research is focused towards sustainable food production. And we started the summit this morning with a talk about food trade. I thought that was super different, but also interesting. So this is something great about this summit.
Thank you very much for talking to Food Farm Talk.
Sure.
Hi, I'm Sugandha, and I'm working as a PhD student in Ontario Veterinary College, and I'm doing my PhD in pathobiology, and I'm focusing on finding out new ways how I can prevent the transmission of avian influenza virus in chickens so that we have better chickens on our plate every day. And it has been a wonderful experience. Thank you.
So today you are at the Arrell Food Summit. Since morning we've been talking about so many things with very intense conversations. What has been the most interesting thing that you are taking out of the summit?
For me, it was so much knowledge to take away. But the take-home message was, what are the different ways we can think about a food? It's just a normal thing in our plate, but where it is, how is it produced? How many efforts are taken to produce it? What are the fraudulent things that can be mixed, and how much important it is for a consumer to have it, and it really matters to a consumer. I have never seen food with so many aspects, and yes, I'm so much motivated to work in the agri-food sector now, and yes, it has been a wonderful experience.
Thank you very much for talking to Food Farm.
So my name's Emily. I'm a graduate student in the Department of Geography, and the most interesting thing that I learned today at the Arrell Food Summit was the wide variety of ways that people are addressing food issues and globalized food systems, and people are attacking it from all different fields in industry and government, academic backgrounds, and everybody seems to have a different approach of doing it, all with the same common goal. So it's interesting to see the different tactics that people are employing towards a more sustainable food system that will feed 9 billion people.
And which session stood out to you the most?
I really enjoyed the panel about public health and planetary health. It was really interesting. I'd never considered like public food in hospitals and things like that as, in thinking about food system issues and food security. I'd never considered that aspect of it, and I thought it was really interesting, and I thought all the panelists brought up some really good points. I really enjoyed the gentleman who brought up Boston Medical Center sourcing all of their seafood from community-supported fisheries. That was really cool to learn, and something that I would like to see adopted more widely.
Hello, my name is Vanessa and I'm a first year master's student in the Department of Geography. And today at the Arrell Food Summit, what stood out to me most was the session on planetary health and the public plate. And this was really great to see today because it focused on human dimensions of the food system and emphasized a holistic approach to looking at food and health and the interconnectedness that exists between them. And I think this is really important and needs to be incorporated more into our food systems. So I was happy that it was incorporated into today's discussions.
Those were some really interesting highlights of the Arrell Food Summit from some of the students who were in attendance. And to close our show today, this show's been focused on kind of giving a wider audience a glimpse into what a day at the Arrell Food Summit was like. And so, Abdul, I'd like to ask you, what was your highlight of the day? What was the most important thing that you learned?
That's a very interesting question. You know, I spent later part of the day asking people, what was the most interesting thing you found in this summit? So the question has come back to me. I would say that the most interesting one for me was the last session, which focused on skill development for future workforce in agriculture. And I did learn very interesting stuff from it because it was very fascinating to learn that digital tools are changing the shape of agricultural jobs. And in as much as people think that these jobs are disappearing, but in most parts, they are creating new forms of jobs. And it's just about how we train the next generation to be able to take advantage of these opportunities that are being created in this, what they call Farmer 4.0. So Farmer 4.0, which was in the last session, was the most interesting thing for me, and I'm really interested to see how the future of agriculture will be and the role the young generation will play in terms of restructuring or transforming agriculture going forward.
I think that one was also my favorite part too. The day was so wonderful. We talked about a lot about what we learned. We didn't talk a lot about what we ate, but the food there was fabulous as well.
That's a good catch to throw in there.
Yeah,
absolutely.
We can't be
Very
on
good
food farm talk without talking about food.
Yeah.
So thank you for listening to today's show, focused on the Arrell Food Summit, and we're going to play you out today's show with a little clip from the band that was playing during the networking reception.
Before that, can you tell the listeners what they expect next week? So we'll be going on break very soon, but next week we'll be doing a year-end review.
Oh, yeah, that's very exciting. Tune in next week for our year-end review. We're going to kind of recap everything that we've talked about on Food Farm Talk for the year. So tune in next Thursday at 10 a.m. on CFRU 93.3 FM.